You're listening to the Master Passive Income Podcast Network. Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you get financial independence, quit that JOB, that just over broke job, by investing in real estate so you never ever have to work a job again. And today we're going to be talking all about passive income and the 3 things that you need to do before you enter into passive income and how to be successful as you are becoming financially independent and quit that JOB. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast, where we talk about investing in real estate with a special focus on making enough money so you can quit your job and live the dream life. And now, here's your host, Dustin Heiner.
Hey, what's up? Super blessed as always to have you here with me on the show. And I love talking about passive income. And you guys know, passive income through real estate is by far the best way, at least that I have found, to make money. Like, I'm not a fantastic singer that I can make music like the Beatles or Michael Jackson and keep making money like that. I'm not the amazing writer that can write books and just keep selling those books. All that is fantastic, but I literally do not have those skills at all. But what I do have skills at is basically finding a property, which is not hard at all. In fact, other people find properties for me and then send it to me. I analyze a deal, which takes me literally like a minute. In fact, I have my Greenlight Deal Analyzer that literally does everything for me. I just put in a couple of numbers and it pops it out. So those calculations and the analyzing is already done for me. I already create that calculator. All I do is actually get a mortgage or buy it with hard money, but I just connect people together. That's really what I do, is I connect people together, and then I create passive income with my real estate investing. But there are so many other ways to make passive income. Obviously, we have a bunch of different things on the internet now, or with technology. With the internet, it is so much easier to make passive income. If you write a book, Amazon will publish it. I could give you it's not necessarily a secret at all, but I'll tell you a little bit about writing books. It is so easy to write a book now and get it published because of Amazon, where people think, oh, you wrote a book, that's so impressive. Well, honestly, it's really not that impressive. But what's great is you make money over and over and over again. Now, here's another thing that I want to give you. If you want to make passive income, here's something that is pretty amazing. You can even rent out your own house. There's a couple things that in renting out your house, you can make money and not even have to report this to the IRS as income. So there's something called the Augusta rule. And this, obviously, we're trying to create more passive income for ourselves. Now, if you have a business, this is even pretty neat. You could even use this for your business. But now there's something called the Augusta rule. The Augusta rule is basically there's a golf tournament, and it's called the Masters, and it's played in Augusta, Georgia, I believe. And so if I'm wrong, don't skewer me, but it's the Augusta rule. And in Augusta, there were a bunch of homeowners, rich, wealthy people that said, you know what? I don't care about Augusta, the tournament anymore, the Masters. I want to just rent out my house and make money, but then I'm going to go back and live in it, and I don't want to have the IRS come and take money out of me just for renting my house out. So they created the rule. It's an IRS rule called the Augusta rule. Basically, you don't have to live just in Augusta. You can live anywhere in the country. It's an IRS rule for anybody and everybody. They had to create it for everybody. So you can rent out your house for 14 days at the going market rate. Obviously, short term, think about short term, but 14 days, rent it out, and you do not have to report any of that income to the IRS. Like, you don't even have to tell them that you did it. You can literally rent it out. Now, here is an amazing thing that you can do. Obviously, do everything legally, but here's the premise of what you can do to get passive income. Number 1, renting out your house. Get out for 14 days, make money, and not even worry about paying the IRS. That's fantastic. Another thing that you can do, let's say you didn't want to move out, but you wanted to have a business retreat at your own primary residence. Now, if you're talking to your accountant and he tells you don't do this, then don't do it. Like, this is just something that I'm thinking is a possible way. So when you have a corporation, or sorry, an LLC, remember, do not create a C corporation, your double taxation, all that stuff. In fact, I teach my students, we create LLCs. Do what your lawyer tells you to do. Again, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just telling you what I've learned. And so what you do is you create an LLC for your company. And your company can take corporate retreats, corporate trips. They do it all the time. Big companies do it all the time. They get food brought into the company. These are expenses that companies can have. Well, if you have your business, you have one rental property and you have an LLC, well, then you have a business that then instead of, and you can go anywhere in the world if you wanted to. Let's say you want to go Hawaii for your corporate trip, your corporate retreat. Well, you can, and that's a business expense. Let's say you and your wife and your kids are the main people in the business, and you go on a trip. Well, part of that expense, and obviously your accountant will tell you how much can be written off and how much can't be. Well, part of that expense can actually be written off on your family vacation, as long as it's a family trip as long as you have business incorporated into it. Just like if you travel to another city and you say, you know what, let me look at some properties to see if I want to buy them. Well, that's a business expense. Part of that trip is a business expense that you can write off. Well, here's what you do. Combine them both together, get the Augusta rule and your corporate retreat. Well, you can have your corporate retreat rent out your personal residence in the 14 days at whatever the going rate is. And you can have your corporate company, your LLC, pay you for using your house for the 14 days. And then you, as your primary residence in your primary, IRS tax return, you do not have to report that income, and your business will literally have that deduction. It'll have that deduction that is using your house. Now, obviously, do it right. You have to have business meetings and all that good stuff. Talk to your accountant. I keep saying that over and over again because I'm not an accountant or a lawyer. But isn't that pretty amazing that, these laws and what would you call the IRS creates rules, tax code? There you go. There are tax code. There are laws. There are things that are written that you and I just don't know about. The rich people do because they write them for themselves. And this type of passive income is going to be so amazing for you when you realize all the different ways you can make passive income, all the ways you can protect your money from being taken by the IRS or by the government, squandered to the federal government and all that sort of stuff. You can figure out these ways. And obviously, I'm going to be telling you all these different things. Now, here's one quick last thing I need to share with you. So the Biden administration is preparing it's like an entire nationwide thing and I don't know where Biden is now. He's actually dropped out of the race. I don't know if this is still going to go on, but he's proposing, or his administration is proposing, and we know if Kamala gets in, it's the same administration, at least I think, so they might still push forward this. But they're saying that they're going to make it a cap of 5% increase on rents. That's the maximum any homeowner can raise their rents. Now, that's a law that they want to put in place that you cannot raise rents more than 5% every single year. Now, here's the thing. If you remember what I just said, that politicians, rich people, the wealthy, they make laws and tax code to benefit them. You might be thinking, well, 5% cap, well, that's a benefit to the renters. I'm telling you this. No, it is not a benefit to the renters. Here's why. The government and politicians only make laws that benefit themselves. That's just what I see. The rich people get richer because they make laws for themselves. Well, what's going to happen is this is going to be a 5% cap, but it's going to be required from now on. If this passes, just watch. People will eventually switch and realize that it's a 5% requirement because everybody will eventually start raising the rents by 5% every single year. It's going to be a 5% requirement every single year that you get to raise your rents. So me as an investor, you an investor, we're going to be great, making a lot more money, which is great. Renters are going to be very, very sad. But here's how I also know that this is not made for the renter. Because BlackRock, Vanguard, big companies that have lots and lots of money, trillions and trillions of dollars, they're buying up all the homes and they're renting them out. Do you think that's a coincidence that the rich people are buying up all the homes and then all of a sudden we have this rent thing where it's like a maximum 5%? That can change anytime. It's a maximum 5%, but it will become the norm and they could eventually change that. Oh, you know what? 5% is a little low. Let's move it to 8%. And okay, let's move it to 10%. And then it'll be a required almost every single time. And when I say required, not the government requiring it, but the big institutions are going to automatically do it. Oh, the government says we have to raise it 5%. No, it's a maximum. But they'll just keep saying, nope, they're requiring us to raise it 5%. Hopefully you're seeing the big picture that the rich make rules, regulations, and laws that benefit them. And then we, as the little people, need to figure out those rules so that we can apply those to ourselves. And that leads us into today, how we're going to be talking. I'm going to be talking to a friend of mine. Met him a number of years ago. Actually, I think it's like 2018, 2019 at a conference. I meet a lot of amazing people at conferences. So if you don't go to conferences like the Multifamily Wealth Builders Conference, check the link in the description. I'll give you 20% off your ticket, but you need to come to the conference. RubeCon as well. We're creating so many more things for you to connect with people. When I first met him, 5-6 years ago, his business was really, really small. Now, and you'll hear it on the episode, at least I think you'll hear it because we might have been talking afterwards, but his company's gotten very, very, very big because he's helping so many people. Now he's got 50, 60 employees, and it's just gotten so big because he's helping people. And this is the type of people that you need in your network. I just called him up. Actually, no, let me take that back. He called me up and said, hey, can I be on your show? I'm like, absolutely, let's come on. So you need to have the right people in your network. The number one way to become a millionaire for you is to be around millionaires. I kid you not. If you're around millionaires, your mind's going to be expanded to see what's possible. They're going to help you along the way. You're going to get connections and your life's going to change. So let's jump into today's show where I'm interviewing a fantastic passive income expert who he's going to show us his 3-step way, if you're going to get into passive income, how to do it and how to do it right. And I am bringing on my friend, Russ Morgan from Wealth Without Wall Street. All right, here we go. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. And I am super excited to be sharing with you some really, really great insights in passive income. I bring on a friend of mine that, honestly, I met him probably 4 or 5 years ago. And surprisingly enough, I met him at a conference. And as you guys know, I absolutely love going to conferences because I meet amazing people, more likely people that I would never meet anywhere outside of a conference. And so with meeting somebody like somebody who does passive income or real estate investing or whatever it might be, you start to realize that you're not alone. And that's one of the best things that I love about conferences. You're not alone, but then at the same time, you can work together, you can help each other out. And so I'm bringing on a really good person that is fantastic at passive income, actually even shares his reports, the reports of his monthly passive income, which is amazing. My wife would never let me do that, but he does that as well. So you can see what he's working on and how he's making passive income to give you encouragement. And I bring on the show to share more about passive income, as well as his book that he just wrote. And I love this title. It's Wealth Without Wall Street. Fantastic. I mean, I definitely don't invest in Wall Street because I lose money. I know I do. That's why I put my investing in real estate. But I'm super pumped to bring on Russ Morgan on the show. Russ, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, Dustin, great to connect again. And so grateful to share with your audience today, man.
So you've been posting since 2020 your passive income reports, basically sharing with the entire world that you make this much money in this revenue stream and this much money in this other revenue stream. What made you or possessed you to do that? Because like I said, my wife would literally never, she told me, no, you cannot post what we make. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I won't do that. But what made you do that? And what has been the result of you posting that on a monthly basis?
Yeah, well, we have a great friend of ours that says what you track grows, but more importantly, what you track and report on grows exponentially. And I knew that, right? Like, I mean, if you're trying to lose weight, for instance, and you want to really, truly lose weight, you better be accountable to it, start tracking it so that you can see it every single day. And then if you'll tell somebody about it, they'll keep you accountable to the goals that you set. It may be the same thing with your work and how you're trying to grow inside the business, or, you're trying to get a better score on a college exam, whatever it is. Like anything that you track and keep up with, you'll have a better chance of having success. Well, you and I go to these different conferences, and I had a chance to meet 2 different individuals. One guy was Pat Flynn with Smart Passive Income. Another guy was John Lee Dumas with Entrepreneur and Fire. And I was having a conversation with them at this event. At the time, I didn't know who they were. They were just 2 guys, 2 really nice guys. And they're talking about these things that they do on their websites, how they track their own personal passive income. And I was like, tell me more. And they were talking about what they've been doing and how long they started doing it. And I started looking them up. And not only was I super impressed by the fact that they were sharing with the world what they were doing, but also the success that they were having. And I came back and I told my business partner, I said, Joey, you and I need to start sharing our passive income with the world. And he's like, bro, like we don't have much passive income. I was like, exactly. I think that's the why we have to do it. We need to be accountable to this process. If financial freedom is when your passive income exceeds your monthly expenses, and this is the thing we want to accomplish, if we put it out to the world, it's going to force us to grow it. And what we've seen is it go from the first time we published it in July of 2020, I think we had about $2,400 a month of passive income, to now we average typically somewhere in the $50,000 a month range.
Per month, $50,000 in passive income. Now, what I love about passive income, that's why I created Master Passive Income, was because more than likely you work one time or you work very little and you make money over and over again on the work that you already created. Like when I buy one rental property, I made all that effort up front, or put out all the effort up front buying that one property, and then my property works for me. Same thing with writing books, which I definitely want to go through your book because there's a lot of great insights in there. But you write a book and then Amazon literally does the work for you selling it. It's so fantastic to do that. Now you have to put a little bit of work in to make sure you're marketing and all that sort of stuff, or writing more books. That's the way authors make more money. But passive income by far is absolutely the best way to make it. In fact, well, let me ask you, when did you first learn about passive income? Because I'll quickly share. I had no clue about passive income until I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in like 2005, like a long time ago. Read it then. I said, my goodness, there's another way than working for somebody else, a job, that just over broke job. Well, there is, and it's passive income. But when did you learn that, and what made you say, I'm all in on that? And I want to pause for just one quick second to share with you my Wealth Builders membership, the Real Estate Wealth Builders membership, where I am literally coaching students how to invest in real estate. We have group coaching. We have the Slack community where we're all answering questions. We have multiple coaches. We're all in there to help you to become a successful real estate investor. I want to give you a discount to join the Wealth Builders membership. If you use the promo code podcast, I will literally give you 25% off the join fee and the monthly fee, because I want to get you investing in real estate. So use a promo code podcast and check the link in the description to get in the Wealth Builders membership so you can become successful like all of our other students that have become successful by investing in real estate.
Yeah, to be honest, I was way later in the game than you were. I didn't read Rich Dad Poor Dad until probably like 2017, maybe. Like I was a certified financial planner, Dustin. Like I was out there accumulating wealth for myself by having other people take their money and put it into accounts that I was telling them were going to help them grow this 8 to 12% returns and wait till retirement and all that stuff. And I knew nothing about passive income. Like passive income was when someone was supposedly taking money out of a 401k at 3 or 4%, and hopefully they wouldn't run out of it. And it wasn't until I got introduced to this idea of infinite banking. I met the author of this book called Becoming Your Own Banker. And I started learning that my cash could go in many different places and I could control the outcome of it. And so I started accumulating wealth there, but I didn't really know what to do. And then Joey and I started our podcast in 2017. And we started interviewing people like yourself who are doing these passive income ideas. And I was like blown away by the number of opportunities there were out there in the world to get income streams coming to you. And so like since then, I've been like drinking from a fire hose.
What's your favorite passive income stream that you have?
Man, I knew you were going to ask me that question. Everybody always asks that question. Like, tell me the one thing that you love.
Well, obviously, mine's real estate, but by far, absolutely my favorite. But there's so many other ways.
So I will say this, disclaimer. One, just because what works for me or works for Dustin doesn't mean it'll work for you. So like in our book, and we'll talk about this maybe at some point, we talk about something called an investor DNA. And it's something that we have created over time, that who we are inside and the way God created us will have us look at different investment opportunities and provide different results as a result of kind of those skill sets that we have. So for me, I really love business. Like business to me is the thing that I enjoy the most. And so I've created lots of different businesses. I've invested in businesses. I've created investments into businesses and put operators in those businesses. I've invested in businesses with the operators already. So I love business as a goal. But within that, I mean, a business could be real estate. A business could be in the e-commerce space. So one of the ones that I love the most, that is probably because it has the best output for me, I'm the most connected to it, I kind of understand it, is that Joey and I started a land flipping business where we buy little small pieces of raw land and we turn around and sell them on owner finance terms. And we have a whole operation team that runs that business, and it brings in a little over $30,000 a month. So it's a big swath of our $50,000 a month that comes in. It comes from the land flipping business. So I would say that's probably my favorite one, because it's the biggest, but also I feel like it has the most stability and I have the most understanding around it.
I think everything you just said is 100% spot on. Like, everybody needs to figure out what is going to work for them. Not every single one, every person is going to have exactly the same style or even just desire. I don't want to flip land, but I think it's phenomenal. I have lots of friends that flip land and they do a great job. One of my good friends, his name's Seth Williams with RE Tipster, and he literally does that and coaches people how to do that. And I am just amazed. I wish I could do it, but it's just not my bread and butter. And with that, I love how you said it's businesses. I love to share with every single person that even though I'm an investor, I invest in real estate, but what I am is I'm actually a business owner. I'm a business owner because in the end, my business owns real estate that is my inventory. So I have inventory, but it's my real estate. Same thing with every single business that I own. I think I have like 5 businesses now that make me money. I try as best I can to turn those into passive income businesses so that other people are working, they get paid well, they enjoy working their job, but I also have free time to go play with my kids. Now, let's jump into, because you have this amazing book called Wealth Without Wall Street. And with that, you talk about passive income and how people can either get into passive income or know what's the right route to go. Why did you write the book of Wealth Without Wall Street? And then what got you to say, you know what, this is something that people need?
Yeah, the reason behind writing it was because we wanted to give people some action steps. Like when we first got into this, even though we both came out of the financial industry, both were professionally trained, you would have had all the things we needed to be successful, but none of that training existed. And so we wanted to lay out for the person who had zero experience getting into building passive income streams, what action steps could they take that they could follow that had been proven, because we've seen it in inside of our community with thousands of people following the similar process. We wanted to give those steps to everybody. Like, we feel like everybody should know how to do this, right? Not everybody wants to be financially free. I mean, to be honest, there's people out there that are just content doing exactly what they're doing. Now, I know they're not listening to this podcast right now because you're here listening because you want to be financially free. You want to improve yourself. And so we wanted to be able to provide things that we had learned over the last 10 to 15 years that someone else could help them shortcut the process. Because the real cheat code to financial success is finding a process that's already been built that you can tap into, finding mentors that are doing that, finding people that you can collaborate along the side that helps you avoid the mistakes and helps you get there faster.
With getting there faster, so I've found that financial freedom is when you have money coming in, that you're not working for somebody else, and hopefully it's coming in passively. That's financial freedom. I've found, and you correct me if I'm wrong, like what your perspective is. So getting there, it's a long time. It's a long process because you're trying to figure out what's going to work. I literally was flipping things on eBay, thinking that was going to be, a way for I get financial freedom. Started many businesses, graphic website design company, skateboard manufacturing business, convenience store. Like, I'm trying so many different things. But for me, what stuck was mainly because it was the easiest and I made the most money and I didn't do any work, was real estate investing. Now, if somebody is going to plan on going down the path of passive income, what would you suggest is, how do they get there? Because there's so many different options out there. Is there, do you have a suggestion on which one do you pick? How do you get started with anything?
Yeah. So in our book, we have these 3 steps. We talk about goal, plan, support, right? Not too many of us leave the house anymore to go anywhere without pulling up GPS, right? And to put in not only our destination, where we're going, but also where our starting point is. So we wanted to have that for people. We wanted to be able to give them that GPS for becoming financially free. So the first part is knowing what you want. And I've had enough conversation with you. I know how much you guys love to travel as a family. What you really wanted was more time with family. That was the big goal for you. So we asked people that question. If they don't know what they want, it's going to be really hard to get there, right? We can run really fast, but if we're running in the wrong direction, you're nowhere closer, even you're further away from where you want to be. But as far as like picking the types of investments, I think it starts with that, right? You need to know exactly like what is it that you really wanted from the investment? Do you want more money? Like, are you looking for lumpy sums of money, or are you looking for monthly income streams? Are you looking to be involved both on the front end, the back end, whatever, or is it going to be completely hands off for you? So for us, we need to better understand what you're looking for. We have a airplane pilot as one of our coaches, and he always says, if you're asking me, hey, where should I travel to and help me pack the bag, he needs to know those destinations. Where are you going to go? Otherwise, he doesn't know to tell you what you should be putting in your briefcase or in your suitcase. But as far as
so really quickly, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know the direction that you're going to be going, if you have no idea that you are actually going to be making money in the end, so hopefully you're actually going to be so much better off if you have that goal set in mind before you actually get started. Like it could be something as simple as knowing how much money you're going to have in order to make passive income and quit your job. That's something that you need to know before you even really get started. That's another one. But even what do you like to do? Do you like to draw? Maybe you can be an artist. Maybe you can write books. But so you said with the coach, the airline pilot, like you need to have like, what's the destination? If they have the destination, what do they do from there?
Yeah. So the thing that we kind of hit on a second ago is this idea of an investor DNA, because one of the most common questions we get is what type of investment should I pick? And usually it's like, what are you doing? Because they just assume like, I'll shortcut the process by just following what you do. And I know firsthand that didn't work for me. The first thing I ever did is I bought a long-term rental down in my college town. It was a condo, 2-bedroom condo. And I had a buddy of mine that had almost probably 50 units at the time, super successful guy. I'm like, he's having success. I'm just going to follow him. I'll start off with my first unit, and then I'll just slowly build up. And it took about 12, 18 months is going on. I'm getting this check-in monthly, but I just wasn't feeling it, Dustin. For me, it was like, I'm not connecting. I don't know what it is. And I couldn't figure out why I didn't like it. It wasn't that it wasn't working, but I was like, not really that interested to doing more. I was like, if I don't like it with one, why will I like it with 50? And so I didn't. That was like in 2006, that time frame. I didn't do another passive income strategy for almost 10 years. And it wasn't until we stumbled across this idea of investor DNA. I was listening to Tom Wheelwright, the Kiyosaki's CPA, and he was having a conversation with the son from Colby. Colby, the personality assessment kind of work.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And they were having a conversation about ways that they were using Colby in the workplace. And Tom also mentioned, he said, if I have somebody come to me wanting to become a business owner, I will have them do the Colby assessment ahead of time. And if it doesn't show certain aspects, I will deter them from actually going into that arena. And I thought, that's fascinating. I bet you that same idea applies in investing, right? Like not from the risk-based financial planning world I've come from with what you should invest in or not, but really, how do you see it? Like, what is your personality style? And so what we did is we actually went and found a different model that would work. We have people go through this personality assessment. And then now we've built out of this passive income matrix that has, I think, maybe 13 to 15 different options on it now. And what we did is we followed DISC, the DISC model. And so if you're like a D, right, you're very results oriented, very driven, want to get to the bottom line very quickly and hate inefficiencies, then we go through and show you what you would like about every one of those options. And so you will read from your point of view, which each one of those options will give you. And then we do the same thing for cons of it. So we'll say, here's all the things that you will hate about these 13 to 15 options based upon your own personality. And then the third category is what are all the key factors that go into it? Like how much capital, or how much time, or all these things, that will be involved. And so you get to see it from your own point of view. And so to answer your question in a very long way, ultimately, what we wanted to do is help people take this big wide world of investing and all these different passive income streams that are possible and narrow it down to one or two or three options. And based upon who you are, you go, oh, I will connect most with this. And then they can go do those 2 or 3 things and figure out which one of those 2 or 3 things really are aligned with, and then start investing a lot more money into them, which ultimately will create a lot more passive income, or spending more time in them, which will create more passive income.
I really like that strategy. So now, obviously, with Master Passive Income, I coach people how to invest in real estate. Once they find me, they know that I do real estate. And so if they don't like real estate, they're not going to stick around. They're going to go to someplace outside of stocks. But I like that perspective, and especially, in everything that you do with Wealth Without Wall Street and your book, helping people to see that there are so many different ways to get passive income. Obviously, I love certain ones. There are other ones I just don't even touch, just because I don't know it, and it's just not my personality. I'm definitely the D. At least I've been told. Like the what's the D? What's the name?
That's the driver. Yeah,
driver. Yes,
yeah.
I'm definitely the driver, and so I've also found myself, if I'm not building another business or a new business, or adding on to the business, if I'm not building, I just get so bored. Not bored in like a negative way, but I'm like, I need to keep driving. So with that, if somebody were to be any one of those, like, do you have like a list inside the book of the different types of passive income streams that you would suggest for each type of personality?
So what we do is we do break down the investor DNA in the book, and we do go through a ton of different options. Now, I will say that we've made updates to the book because we actually started writing the book in 2021 and it got published this year. And we continue to create. So what we did in the book is that we actually give them a link, and it gives the access to the most up-to-date passive income matrix. And as we add to it, right? Because every time we interview someone or spend time with somebody who's an expert, whether it's in one of our live events, one of our masterminds, or on our podcast, we will ask them questions. Hey, from your point of view, one, we'll have them do the assessment so we know which one of those profiles they are. And we find their expertise, and we'll say, okay, what is it that you love about what you're doing? And then what are the cons? What are the things you really don't like about it? So we keep updating it. And then also we keep on the end, we also link podcast episodes to experts in those categories. So that way people, as they're like, hey, I really want to go deeper on this, buying online businesses, for instance, and based upon my profile, I feel like this is a good fit. And then they can go click on episodes where we've actually interviewed people around that. So we keep updating it. So yes, in the book, there is a up-to-date link that somebody could click on and could take them right to the spots.
I love it. Now, we have more interview, but I want to give it out now so that people will know. It's in the description as well, but you created a special page for everybody that comes from Master Passive Income, wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/master. And obviously with Master Passive Income, but go there, have lots of stuff for you, just obviously for free, but then also you can get the book there too. Now, Russ, you and your partner Joey, like you guys, how do you guys work together? Because one thing with passive income, it's not necessarily that you need other people, but it works really well when you have somebody who's compatible, but also have complementary roles and characteristics and everything like that. Talk to me about partnering with somebody in the passive income strategies.
Yeah, that's one of the things that people are like, well, Russ, if I'm a C profile, right? I'm way more cautious, way more analytical, and maybe I'm not geared to starting businesses or turning investments into businesses. Does that mean I can't do it all together? And the answer is no, right? Like if I was that profile and you're a D, Dustin, then I would want to go and connect potentially with you. And, a lot of times what Ds need is they need somebody to make sure they look around the corner, check underneath the hood, make sure everything is accurate to what they said, what the person said it was going to be. So those are complementary areas. So my business partner is an S. He's more empathetic, more cautious, more stable, looking for more conservative ideas. And I'm the I profile. Like I'm just like ready, fire, aim, right? So I'm always going. One of the first areas that we jumped in hard back in 2020 was a short-term rental business. And he wanted nothing to do with it. He was like, no, I don't like this. It seemed new, even though VRBO had been around forever. I'm like, no, bro, we need to be doing this. We had been interviewing people in the podcast space that were having success. I was like, we need to do it. You have a long-term rental. It's about to come due. Let's turn it into a short-term rental. We'll try it on it. He did not want to do it. But my prodding, my influence kept pushing on him. And ultimately, he saw the success. Well, he wouldn't have done it without me. And I couldn't have done it without him helping me think through, okay, we need to find an operator. So we went from having 0 units to over 15 units in 12 months. Like immediately, like we scaled. Like we ultimately got
That's impressive.
We ultimately got it to 25 units at its high, and it was 100% hands off. Like, we were not operating. We hired an operator, built a whole team around it, made the thing run without he and I ever checking Airbnb. Like, I'm not checking someone in. I'm not running oven mitts over to a unit or anything. None of that's happening. We're just collecting checks, but he wouldn't have done that. So I think that partnerships are one of those things that do help you maybe take action, but also can help you get, to different areas together that you wouldn't do solo.
Along with that, even if you don't partner with somebody, you need to be around other people who have different perspectives. I'll give you a quick example. 2018, I started my own private mastermind. Just there's 3 other guys and myself. We've been meeting ever since then. And we all have different perspectives. We have different skill sets. Like, I'm the real estate investor. We have somebody that's a business guy, somebody that's more technology, one's a public speaker. And we all work so well together. Our personalities are completely different, as well as we obviously get along. If we didn't get along, it wouldn't work out. But we help each other see blind spots. We help each other to make sure that we can see different opinions. That's one of the biggest things. Now, I definitely have my own mastermind. You guys have that as well. And it's all about getting around other people that are going to help you to get outside yourself. Not just... There's more to it. Obviously, a lot more great things. Like, you can connect together. You can help each other out in business. Like, I have you on my podcast. You have me on your podcast. And, we help each other out because, become friends. But at the same time, it is so much more so than if you just did it yourself. But what are your thoughts about connecting with other people, going to conferences, being a mastermind, and all the good stuff?
Yeah, that really is the cheat code. The ability to collaborate with other people. There's that old saying, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others. And what I have found is, I know I'm in the right room, Dustin, is if I bring my idea and I share it with the room, and somebody in the room comes and puts their arm around me and say, that's cute. That idea is cute, Russ. But let me give you my perspective from where I sit, where I have been before, or where I'm going, what this idea really is. Right. And I think, man, how cool is that if we have someone who thinks completely different, but potentially can raise our lid? I mean, we had a chance within our masterminds to be able to sit and spend time with people who sold businesses for hundreds of millions of dollars. A couple of people that in our mastermind have sold businesses for billions of dollars. We have a guy in one of our masterminds who is the president of a publicly traded company. Their ideas and their outlooks on things are so vast, right? They give us perspectives that we would have probably had in our own little echo chamber. So when you move and move out of your comfort zone and open yourself up to other people, which is hard, right? To tell people what you're doing. And in one of our masterminds, we have this thing called forums where we actually talk about the top 5% and the bottom 5% of personal, financial, family, and business. And in our small group, we do that because I think it helps us in those areas where we need the most support, but also need to be able to share some of those successes. So that way, we can have those kind of moments where we can keep expanding and growing.
You touched on the grow, or you just said it on, I love the idea of expanding and growing, because I found that it wasn't until, I think it was 2017 when I went to my first conference and started being around other people. I grew up obviously playing sports, or like, as we all, whenever we play a sport, it's like team against team. It's always a competition. I did one-on-one. I also had team sports, but it seemed like it was always a competition. And I took that into my real estate investing, took that into podcasting, took that, like, literally everything. And then I went to my first conference. It was FinCon, the Financial Content Creators Conference. And that blew my mind. It's like, man, there are other people just like me, and we can help each other out. And it doesn't have to be a lose-lose. It could be a win-win. And the people, and I realized that I had a scarcity mindset, which I felt like, okay, there's so limited things out there, I got to keep it all to myself. As soon as I switched it to an abundance mindset, where I now believe there's so much out there that it can so much more for everybody can benefit, I started making so much more money, started connecting with more people, and things started happening so much better because I had an abundance mindset. Now, when you in growth and having that expansion in your mindset, What do you do when you have somebody that is pressing you and you're like, oh, it could be Joey, it could be somebody else. They're pressing you and you know you can grow, but you feel a little limited. Have you ever come across that where it's like, I see the potential and I'm still a little concerned because let's say I have this new passive income stream, but it's uncharted territory. What would you suggest to somebody going down that route that they should do or not do?
Yeah, I think that is a tendency we have. Anytime we get into the unknown, we have a tendency to pull back, right? Like we can be our own biggest obstacle, is that kind of that inner person inside telling us, hey, Dustin, you're not really good enough to be in this position. Like, I know you've had some success up to this point, but that's not who we are, right? Like our inner self sometimes is trying to preserve us, right? Trying to protect us. And I think that, action is what always helps us get out of fear, right? Because what you fear, you'll face constantly until you actually go do it. And then you're like, oh, wait a second, that wasn't so hard. That wasn't so difficult. Now, it's always good to go with people that have been there before, right? Like there's a lot of times that, my inner self was trying to protect me. They were like, Russ, don't do this. And I'm like, shut up, inner self. And then I go do that. And then I have, a pullback. I have an experience that I should or I could have potentially avoided. I don't know. I think everybody's different, right? Our personality styles are going to dictate how we handle that more than others. But to your point, like if we, when we bring a deal now, like I no longer am vetting deals myself. I'm bringing those deals to my community, like to my mastermind. And I'm like, hey, here's the deal. Here's what I'm looking at. What am I missing? And so what we do is we have everyone in our mastermind who's on that call when we do it, will say one, on a scale of 1 to 10, what they think about the deal. And then 2, why. And the why is so much more important than the 1 to 10, because your perspective as a professional investor, Dustin, and what you see about that specific deal is going to be vastly different than the person over here who maybe, runs a publicly traded company and what he thinks about it. And everybody has a different perspective on the actual business. And what I found is over time is by doing that, even though I'm not necessarily wanting to invest with them on everything that I do, I'm getting the benefit of thousands of deals have been done in that room for the deal that I'm considering. And there's been plenty that I thought, this is a knockdown. I'm just going to share it with them anyway, but I'm doing it. That I've walked out of the room like, I'm not doing that at all. Like what they shared with me that I didn't see, I'm moving away. But also there's been deals that have been talked about in the room. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. This is stupid. And I'll start playing Facebook or something during the call. And then all of a sudden I'll start hearing the responses and I'll perk up and I'll be like, oh, I never even considered that as an option, right? Like with that, oh, I'm totally in. So I think there's, I don't know if I'm answering your question well, but that's what I consider about that, how I apply it in my life.
Well, I find when you don't move forward and you're getting honestly scared or fearful of moving forward because something is blocking you, it really comes down to unknown. Like I'm not sure if this is a good fit, or I'm not sure if this is the right route to go. Or I'm not sure if this is the right property to buy or business to buy or whatever it might be. You're not sure. You're unsure and the unknown. But what helps you to conquer those fears, obviously action. I love you said that. On top of action, you also have education or more knowledge. You want to have whatever problem or whatever deal to be revealed to you by other people. Having other people to show you, this is what I see. This is the direction that I would take. And it helps you to, instead of being unknown, whatever it is you're going to be doing or whatever deal it is, it's now much more known, which helps you to move forward. Just like I just taught my boys how to do a front flip off a diving board last year, and this year they did a 1.5, and then now they're doing a double. They're doing doubles off of the diving board. At first, though, they were scared out of their minds. And I showed them, I said, this is how you do it, because they're fearful. Did a first flip, then I did a 1.5. And so they started little by little. Now they just can't wait to go back to the pool and do diving and do doubles on the diving boards. Because once you get past the unknown, then it's easy. And then you keep moving forward. So now, Russ, you and I could keep chatting forever. What have I missed in creating passive income? Is there anything else that you know that we should be looking for before we jump into or as we're getting passive income?
A couple of things came to mind as we were talking there. One, as far as like there's people that are listening right now that are in that C profile, the more analytical, cautious. And I remember Colin Powell had this 40-70 rule. Now, he applied it, obviously, in a lot of different ways than we probably do, as the former Secretary of State of our country. But I apply it as much as I can into business and to investing. And he would say he needed at least 40% of the information to make a decision. Without 40%, he couldn't move forward. But he also, the 70% was, if he waited to have more than 70%, the opportunity most likely had already passed him. And so I think that's a good application as we look in doing deals, is that, do we have at least 40%? So for the eyes that are listening like me, you're making decisions off 10% of the information. You need to gather more, right? You need to gather a little more data before you truly make the decision. But for the C's that are listening, you're trying to have your fears of making a mistake, and you think you need 150% of the information, and most likely the deal has moved past you. You've missed the opportunity. So that was one idea. The second one is that I also realized that there's 5 things needed to do a deal. And, I live in Alabama. And so, spelling is not the gift of anyone here. So we have this acronym that we call the redneck motor. That's MOTER, right? So that's the redneck motor. So the 5 things needed to do a deal, and you don't need to have all 5. You can sometimes have 1 or 2. The M is for money. And so oftentimes I think people think, I have to have money to do a deal. And that may be possible if you're investing purely passive. You better come to the table with money, so the person who has the deal itself will actually allow you to invest with them. The O is the opportunity, right? So if you have the opportunity, then money will find your deal. So if you're good at finding opportunities, you're good at finding deals, you can find the money to go along with it. The T is time. The time to either learn about it, educate yourself, be in rooms with people, going out and finding deals, all that T, right? For some people, they have lots of it. So for some people, they have none of it, and they're willing to trade the M for it. The E is experience. And there's so much opportunity to gain experience in so many different ways that maybe you, like you said, you front end the passive through active involvement, gaining experience. So then that allows you to understand what a real deal is. And then you can get someone who will give you the money to come along with it. And then the last one is what we've been talking about, is the R, is the relationships, right? Like the opportunities that I've been able to invest in only come through relationships, right? Like people are like, well, how do you do a deal where you're earning 70 to 100% on it? I'm like, well, it's a relationship. People know who to go to. And those deals come along with me being able to maybe add some experience in addition to some M into the deal. And I can be able to create returns in certain scenarios that far exceed what most of the average, reported on type of stuff is.
I love that you ended on the relationships, because that's literally what everything is all about. Now, I love that people invest in real estate, they invest in businesses. We think of the transaction, we think of the end result of buying a property. Well, I know now, after experiencing this firsthand, real estate is not about a property. Business is not about a product, and life is not about just experiences. But real estate is about people. Business is about people, and life is about people. When you start focusing your life around other people, serving other people, considering others more important than yourself, how you can help them as opposed to what you can gain out of that person, then your life gets so much better. I have noticed personally, the more people that I serve in my life, the better my life gets, the better their life gets. To give you a quick example, if I buy one rental property and I make sure it's a nice place, I keep it just a little below comparable rents, and I rent it out to somebody, they're benefiting from that property, because not everybody wants to own a house. People might think, well, why don't they just buy it? Well, not everybody wants to own properties. Actually, right now, a lot of people don't want to own properties because of how expensive it is. Well, if I have a property, I can rent it out to them. Then if I serve more people, if I buy an apartment complex, 355 units I just closed on, that's 355 families that I would be able to help by giving good quality homes. Same thing with teaching and podcasting and everything, writing books like The Wealth Without Wall Street. Everything is all about serving people. Now, like I said, Russ, you and I can just keep on talking like this, but everybody, you need to go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/master, and I'll put that link in the description. But Russ, how can people find you? How can they get your book? How can they connect with you more?
Yeah, we put almost all of that in that link. If you go to what'swallstreet.com/master, if you want to copy the book, you can click on the link. If you want to talk to one of our coaches about, the masterminds that we have and how do you come to a live event, all of that stuff is there. Or if you want to just take that investor DNA quiz and figure out who you are, and then figure out what are the pros and cons to the different 13 to 15 different options that we've talked about. We actually put a discounted link for you to be able to do it on that one page as well.
Awesome. Well, Russ, thank you so much for being on the show. Tell Joe I said hi, and I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Good to see you again.
And that is it for today. Go ahead and get my free real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777, RENTAL to 33777. You can also join my Real Estate Wealth Builders group coaching. Get all my courses. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next show. See ya.